Hi, my name is Jason Grant, and this is Living with Integrity, a series of short stories on what it means to live with integrity. Enjoy. Grow up. Growing up is the second axis of human development. Growing up is the process of owning your mind to the ultimate degree possible. It's the idea of being able to handle complexity without going crazy in the process. I have lots of friends who are single and they can't handle themselves. They say life is too complicated. Oh, this adulting thing is too hard. Meanwhile, there are parents with 2 children, jobs, dropping off to school and picking back up, homeschooling, earning money to keep them alive, responsible for themselves, other lives, keeping the house clean, going, taking people to holidays, managing multiple minds. This is a topic on itself, managing multiple minds. And they don't complain that life is too complicated. The difference between the two examples is that the single person adulting on their own has not grown up yet, while the adult has. Maybe they've been forced to through the difficulties of labor, but they've grown up. They've grown up a lot more compared to the single person who is grappling with the notion of adulting. Ultimately, people with integrity grow up. They grow up as a conscious process that they choose to undertake to be able to undertake greater tasks in their lives, achieve bigger impact, realize their full potential, and actually live a life worth living. If you wake up in the morning and you can't even be bothered to make yourself a cup of coffee or breakfast, you've not grown up enough. Perhaps occasionally you might feel like that, and that's okay. But if you feel like this all the time, or majority of the time, and life seems to be a drag, it may be the case that you need to grow up. Now, side note here, it's potentially hard to grow up if you haven't cleared up. Talking of growing up, it is a structured process. It's a process that requires one to really understand the full breadth of the cognition spectrum that we all have some control over. Some of us have better control over our minds. Maybe it's a gift that we're born with. Either way, some are better at some things and some are better at some other things. We all have our own gifts, and those gifts are there for us to grow. The more we grow our gifts, the more we'll be able to grow up. Growing up is an empowering process. It means that you can handle a lot more of your life directly by yourself. You're equipped to deal with yourself in a way that is most directly relevant to you. Growing up is ultimately what wise people do, because they realize that they are always with themselves, and that the fastest way to get something done is to do it themselves. As soon as you have to rely on somebody else, you realize you need to find them at a time when they're available, at a mental time when they are ready to deal with those things that you need them to deal with, etc., etc. The fastest way to deal with anything is to deal with it yourself. This is a grown-up way and self-sovereign way of dealing with anything. Growing up these days seems to be a thing that doesn't sound so sexy. Everyone seems to be wanting to stay in their child playful mode and muck around in the mud pit and just play. That's healthy too. Being in touch with your inner child is very, very important and healthy, and being able to playfully handle your life is an advanced skill of grown-ups. Grown-ups that really have done the growing up understand that they can be grown up while being playful. But this playfulness isn't childish in nature. It is playful in nature. This is akin to a mother lion playing with her cubs, knowing that she can absolutely tear their heads off, but choosing not to. So she's a very, very gentle lioness, playful, but grown up. This is the kind of growing up I am advising you to do. It is an empowering process. It is a fun process. There is some perhaps work to do. Certainly it's psychological work that needs to be done. But once you get there, you actually find that life is much easier to live. It's much easier to deal with day-to-day necessities of life because you no longer see them as a chore. You can deal with the necessities of life as a playful, habitual, everyday happening. You don't need to judge them. You don't need to think of them as hard. You don't need to think of them as chores. You don't need to think of them in any negative way, because you realize that you're strong enough and grown up enough to just deal with it and get on with your life. It seems like most people who can't really cope with life as it is these days have not actually done the growing up. Waking up seems to be an axis of human development that's perhaps in this sense sexier than growing up. Sometimes people find themselves going on exuberant and frequent trips to various plant medicine retreats to try and wake up some more and wake up some more and wake up some more, only to realize that there's only so much waking up one can do. Eventually, there comes time to grow up. And it may be to realize that it's time to put the plant medicine down and do some of the habitual work that enables all of us to deal with our lives and everyday needs in the easiest and most optimal way, like adults do. Strong adults, that is. In my experience, this is one of the biggest reasons why so many people suffer from themselves. They have simply ended up in a form of stifled self-development on the growing up axis. The faster they start growing up and deal with themselves and really take responsibility for themselves, the faster they start realizing that life actually isn't that hard at all. Quite the opposite. Life is a lot of fun. Life can, even in adult years, feel like child's play because it's that easy. When the child is playing, they don't think they're doing the work. So the hard work becomes playful. And this is what the best artists in the history have clocked onto and discovered, integrated, and utilized to create some of the most masterful artworks in the history of humanity. These masterful artworks are artworks which still today amaze us because they are the artworks that most undeveloped people cannot believe that a human is capable of. This is akin to a child looking up to their parent and wondering how superhuman the parent is. At some point, you got to become the parent, whether you have your own children or not, because at some point, you will also have to grow up. Hi guys, thank you very much for watching yet another story from Living with Integrity series. Please post in the comments on what caught your attention the most, perhaps thought that you had or a question that you have for me. I'll most likely introduce it in future episodes as a theme. Also, if you like or dislike this, please do so and share this with other friends of yours who will benefit from this. I really want to turn this into a community effort, and I'm committed to posting once or twice a week, so watch out for future episodes. Subscribe to the channel as well and ring the bell so you can get the notification when the next story is up. I've got loads and loads of these, hundreds of them in plan, so please stay tuned and let's get this channel growing. Thank you so much.